Welcome to Click for IB Biology. Here we're looking at signal transduction, which occurs at a distance. And in this particular video, we're going to take a look at the action of adrenaline on the sinoatrial node of the heart. There's a PDF of this presentation that's linked in down below in the description, where you'll also find there a quiz with 10 questions and answers so that you can consolidate your understanding of this part of the course. So let's take a look at this idea of ligands working at a distance. And the ligands in this case are the hormones. And over the course of this particular topic, we'll take a look at adrenaline, insulin, estradiol, progesterone, and testosterone, I should have added there. And these are all produced in tissues which we call the endocrine tissue. So this is a way in which the body can effectively bring about signaling internally between organs. And indeed, this is an aspect of another one of the topics on the course called, which is C3.1, of integration of body systems. So we can double up this information with that part of the syllabus as well. So back to this then, our ligands then are hormones. And by definition, hormones are produced in endocrine glands. They travel through the blood and having an effect on what is called a target tissue. Now, one of the emerging features of these hormones is that they often have multiple effects on a target tissue, and they can also be targeting a number of different tissues. And then, as mentioned in this particular example, we're going to be looking at the hormone which is called adrenaline. Now, adrenaline is produced on the adrenal glands, which sit on top of the kidneys, like so. And indeed, of course, you'll be aware that adrenaline is often known as epinephrine. The origins of the word epinephrine, the roots are epi, which means to be above or on top, and nephros, epinephrine here, the nephrin part, refers to the kidney, on top of the kidney. And so adrenaline or epinephrine, whichever one you choose to use, is produced in the adrenal glands, which is the endocrine tissue. And the target of adrenaline, well, there are multiple targets. And one of those is the sinoatrial node of the heart. So perhaps you have studied the heart already, and you'll remember about the regulation of heart rates and myogenic rhythm and the role of the sinoatrial node in generating the heartbeat. But adrenaline also has effects on muscle tissues as well. In this video, we're just going to focus on the sinoatrial node. So let's take a look at this in more detail. So our signal transduction, remember, is that we will have a signal which is produced by the, in this case, an endocrine organ, and the signal takes the form of adrenaline. So that's called the ligand. Adrenaline travels through the bloodstream, and it's targeting these cells of the heart in the right atrium called the sinoatrial node cells. And the adrenaline will come into contact with a cell membrane receptor, a glycoprotein structure, which is called a G protein coupled receptor. And so the reason for this name is that, of course, the receptor idea is fairly obvious. It's a glycoprotein sitting in the membrane that can detect the presence of adrenaline. And the couple means that it is linked to what are called G proteins. Now, what's going to happen now is that there's going to be a cascade of signals internally within the cell. Now, what that means is that there will be a number of events. Perhaps we could characterize it as A will lead to B, and B will lead to C, and D will be the final outcome of that particular cascade. So the cascade is a series of linked reactions. So let's begin again. So the adrenaline links with the G protein coupled receptor. This then triggers the G proteins, which are in the membrane as well, and they convert ATP into cyclic AMP, so that's monophosphate. And this triggers the conversion of kinase A into the activated form of kinase A called pKa. And pKa is responsible for increasing heart rate. So this makes a lot of sense, that we know that in stressful conditions of perhaps threatening, that our heart rate, threatening conditions, our heart rate may increase. And this is the signaling transduction in detail then, the effects of adrenaline on increasing heart rate. But also what happens is that the adrenaline can also trigger glycogenolysis. So that's glycogenolysis, in which glycogen, the polysaccharide carbohydrate, is broken down to glucose. And of course, we can see that the function of that is to provide glucose for respiration, for the synthesis of ATP, for any action that may be necessary in our response to the threat. So the signal transduction of adrenaline is the ligand adrenaline, the receptor is GPCR, the cascade of the G proteins resulting in an increase, a response from the cell, which is the transduction of increased heart rate and glycogenolysis. So that's action at a distance. And we're going to take a look at a few other examples of that. They're linked in here now for you. A chance to subscribe to the site, please. That's greatly appreciated. And there's the playlist for your convenience. Don't forget the quiz.